Hello and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today I've got lots of DK sock talk going on, and I've got a new project and another new thing that's kind of starting that's crazy, which is very exciting. So, kale, also have that. My roommates and I had this blender. It was like an immersion. No, it wasn't immersion. We have an immersion blender. That's what I used today. We had this like bullet blender that Jordan's brother had like won in some, it was like a prize in like a raffle or something like a long time ago. And it was like a crappy bullet blender. And I use it to make smoothies every day for a long time. And finally, like one of the blades kind of like cracked, like not in the blade, but like along the side of like the twist cap of the blade. It like cracked. And then one of the cups cracked, and then one of the little 3 tines broke off of the cup, so that one didn't work anymore in the blender. And then finally the second blade, which was working really well, the flat blade with only 2 blades, the like plastic inside just started coming off in my smoothies. And I was like, okay, it's time to order a new blender. So I ordered a Ninja blender because it was like half off at Bath & Beyond or something. Only in red, but like we already have a Red Bull blender, and I was like, oh perfect, I'll get a red blender. It's not here yet. I get everything shipped to my work, to my office, because we have porch pirates because we live in a row house and packages get stolen. But so sometimes it just takes like an extra day or 2 to get stuff because they have to like bring it to the university, and then they have to like the university mail system has to distribute it. And so this happened when I lived in the dorms in graduate school too. But they'd send you a notification. I just had to go to the like downstairs dean's office in my building and just check like twice a day whenever I order stuff. So anyway, I used my immersion blender this morning because I wasn't even thinking about it. So I was like, oh, that won't work for a smoothie, because the food processor would work for, like I used that once last week, but the food processor you have to clean. Their food processor is also 30 years old, so the top doesn't lock on. Like if you're using like flour or like making hummus or like pesto or something, it's fine as long as it's not like a ton of liquid. Because if there's a ton of liquid, it just kind of like comes out the sides and splatters a little bit. And so that's what happened when I tried to make a smoothie in it last weekend. And I was like, all right, maybe not. So I used, last night, Jordan was like, let's have milkshakes, my roommate Jordan. And we were like, made milkshakes with like, we had these like apple dumplings that I made for Rosh Hashanah last week that were left over, and they were still good. And we have cookie butter, and then we have milk and vanilla ice cream. So we're like, let's put like leftover apple dumplings. Cause like you go to like Be More Licks, which is like the ice cream shop nearby here. And they mix like tons of crap in ice cream with their blenders. So we're like, we could do that. And it worked. It was totally great. It worked really well. Like the immersion blender worked well. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna do that with my smoothie. And I just like defrosted the fruit a little bit so it would be like a little easier, and it was fine. It's really funny because like once it was blended and like liquidy enough, I could literally pick the like cup up with the immersion blender without holding it, and there was so much force inside. I don't know what kind of force that is. Nitin, if you're watching, what kind of force is it? If I like is it centripetal force? I don't know, but there's so much force that like, and it's like, I don't know, something, there's like enough like smoothie is like solid enough, I guess, that like it could be picked, I could just pick the whole thing up. It was crazy, but it worked and it blended properly, so that's good. And it's easy to clean. Okay, so today I'm wearing my oldest sweater. This is it's the third one I made, but it's the second one I kept because I gave Ivy one of them. I made one in Rama, and I gave that one to Ivy. It was kind of like this color, but it was darker. It was like smoky blue, but darker smoky blue. Speaking of my friend Ivy, I don't know if she watches. Most of my friends don't like watch regularly, but I just got yarn to dye, and I'm dyeing Ivy's yarn today. So for her classic, so no, she wanted to make a Paloma sweater. I think I said it. I had a little video segment that I'm gonna put in somewhere near here, in the video, where I like show you around the dye kitchen. I mean, it's just my normal kitchen, but I'm gonna show you like dye in the pot and like stuff like that. It's very exciting. But yeah, she wanted to make a Paloma because I made one ages, like almost 3 years ago for my mom, right when we both came back for COVID in March 2020. I made my mom this Paloma sweater with John Arbon Devonia and some hand-dyed mohair. Oh my gosh, it was so nice. I was really making it for me, but it was really big. And so my mom just took it and was like, it's mine now. Cause she likes it oversized, kind of like a sweatshirt. And then I made myself the classic, which if you've been following my channel, you would have seen like May, April, something like that. Around the time I finished this, I think I was knitting them at the same time. Ish, yeah. This also video about this on my channel back 4 months or so, maybe 5 months. It's October now, which is wild. This was in my room all summer because my vanilla sweaters, like I put my sweaters away generally for the winter, but my vanilla sweaters I keep in my room, like not fully put in the basement. I just keep them under my bed because like you need them for longer in the season and you need them earlier in the next season. So I was like, I'll just keep those around. Sometimes you just want to throw on a cardigan because it's air conditioned inside. And so all my fingering weight vanilla sweaters I keep around. I actually left one last weekend at the kids' house. I went to my nanny kid's house for dinner on Sunday. And I left a sweater by accident. I also left knitwear there. I made the girls little Harry Potter scarves, which they loved, and Otto's sweater fit, which was shocking. And so actually one of my next projects that I'm going to show you today is my next 2 kid knits for Clara and Mabel. The 2 girls, they're now 9 and 7, which is crazy. If you've been watching me since the beginning, they were only 5 and 7 then. Now they're 7 and 9, which is crazy. I just started 2 years ago was when I started nannying for them, when I started taking care of them. And Clara is almost as tall as I am now. Not really, but she's very tall. She's like tall and thin. Her parents are both really tall. They're all gonna be tall. But she comes like almost up to my shoulder now, and I'm like, you're 9. Like, what? So that's crazy. But I saw them in July, August in Vermont, and I was like, girls, you've probably grown out of your sweaters. What do you want for your next ones? And they described them. And I'm just gonna jump into this right now. Clara said, 9-year-old, she said, well, Miss Emma, which is how she starts most sentences to me, I want my sweater to look like the sunset. And I said, interesting. So here's a fun story. I'm gonna show you the sweater. Okay, so I actually had some yarn, just like serendipitously. Oh no, hang on. This just fell out. Sorry, my stitch marker came out. I don't have any stoppers on these needles, so I don't know why I stopped at the stitch marker. That was really stupid. Sorry. Do you hold stitch markers in your teeth too? I hold stitch markers in my teeth. It's just like a toxic trait that I have. Okay. Just gonna knit a few stitches and then I will show you the sweater. Okay. This is just a little raglan. She said she wanted to look like the sunset. This is sort of blowing out, but not really. Like it looks pretty much like the sunset. This is the yarn. And it is some yarn. It's like a random kind of art yarn. And it is half wool, half polyester. And I got this. And there's a few short rows in the back. But I think this is gonna fit her. It's gonna be a little wide. She's not very wide, but she's long. So I'll make it extra long. And then as she widens, if she widens, it doesn't matter. She'll be able to wear it. She'll like it. It'll be like a sweatshirt, kind of oversized. So I got this yarn in the mail during COVID because, okay, so yeah, well, I mean, I've talked before about how I go to England sometimes, and I was in England for field work and stuff like that when I was in graduate school sometimes, and I did my main work with this one person who I call my host mom sometimes, Catherine. And Catherine lives in Guildford. Catherine's from New Zealand, and she lives in Guildford, which is just southwest of London. And so I was staying with her. This was actually right before COVID. That's why I came home. And for some time to do this research. And her mother was there some of the time. Her mother was still alive at this point. She's deceased now, passed away a few months after this in 2020. And her mother's name is Frances. And Frances, when I met Frances, Catherine was like, oh, this other thing about Emma. We were in the car. I remember when we had this conversation, we were in the car the first time I met Frances. It was pouring, and Catherine said, she's, to Frances, her mother, Emma is also a very fine knitter. And Frances was like, oh my gosh, like I used to know I'm from New Zealand, like all this stuff. And I remember this because it was, you remember like situations, it was pouring rain, and we'd left Guildford Cathedral because it was Sunday morning, and we were bringing Frances. No, we were going back to Catherine's house, but Frances was in a wheelchair, so we she had a walker, I think, at the time. And so we couldn't, it's like a really short little walk, but you have to walk up steps, and like basically Catherine's house is like on the cathedral's like campus. It's like it's called the Cathedral Close in England. But we couldn't walk Frances down there because she had a walker and there were steps. So we drove the car up the Stag Hill, and then we brought her back. And I remember because I opened the door on the wrong side because we were in England, and obviously the passenger side is different. The driver sits on the other side of the car. And it was pouring rain, and Frances was like getting soaked. I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, go back and like open the other side. And then we were talking about this, and Frances was like, oh, that's so interesting. Like, yeah, I used to knit all the time, blah, blah, something like that. And, I saw her several times throughout my field work. We went, brought her grocery shopping and, helped her with stuff around the house and things like that. And she was, getting up there in years. I think she was in her 80s. But, she still had like totally normal conversations. And so I guess had talked about knitting. I think I had made something. I brought a bunch of mittens or something that I'd made for all of them. And maybe I gave her some mittens. I remember giving her a mug that said pen on it, because I brought everybody stuff that said pen on it. Because it's just like what you do when you go to a university or work at a university. Now everybody gets stuff that says UMBC on it. But anyway, she had cancer at the time, and nobody knew how long she was gonna live. It was terminal, but it was like 2 years, 2 months, 6 years. No one really knew. So, yeah, I can't remember if she was in a nursing home or she just went to the hospital, but she passed away that summer, so 3 or 4 months later. And they were cleaning out her house in 2020. I think at the end of 2020 they'd been cleaning it out because they owned it, like Catherine and her husband owned that house, and they were gonna rent it out to other people, and they found some yarn. And Frances, I don't know, had told them, or they just like, what are we gonna do with this? Like, this was the yarn. There was like 8 or 9 balls of it, and it was just like sitting there, and they were like, we should give this to Emma. I don't know if she'd said, oh, I want you to give that to Emma or whatever, to them, but they like sent it all the way from England, and I was like, well, I could just get that the next time I'm there, but like, nope, this is what she wanted. They sent it to me. I was like, shipping probably cost more than the yarn did. But and they just said, do you want some yarn? And I was like, yeah, of course. But I didn't know what it would be like. It would be like just acrylic baby yarn or whatever. Anyway, this was just kind of like, yeah, sunset colors. And so we were just hanging out in my house. And I think it was actually in Vermont, and I found it there, and I brought it back with me because Clara had said, I want a sweater like the sunset. And of course I brought this to their house, and I was like, is this good? And she was like, I would like more orange and yellow. And I was like, well, you can't see the inside of the ball, but there's orange and yellow in here. So I'm hoping that she is satisfied when it's done. So anyway, that's the story behind my sunset sweater, which I think is really sweet. And I think this will fit her. Next time I see them is gonna be Halloween. So I don't think I'm gonna give the girls, I don't think I'm gonna be done with Mabel's by then necessarily. But determined to have them done by Christmas, because last year their Christmas present was supposed to be the Harry Potter scarves, and the yarn didn't come, so I couldn't make them. And then I made one in like January. I just didn't make the other one until 3 weeks ago when I finally did it, and I gave it to them. So I said to Mabel, okay, Mabel, the girls are very different. So Clara is like very, she never stops moving. Like she's like super energetic, high energy. Like we're talking, she and I are like, we would talk, oh my God, cause she would be the home on Zoom school and we would just talk and talk and talk and talk, like the two of us. Because we're both like total chatterboxes. And so, you know, we talk about all sorts of stuff. Even for 7, she is a smart girl and she likes to, you know, anyway. She was so much like me. Like she always came home with her pants ripped because she'd been playing on the, like that's how she plays. Like she moves fast through the world like I do. So I always thought that was a sweet thing about her. It's like, if you've been a kid like that, you're not going to be frustrated with, you know, I mean, kids are frustrating sometimes, but I understood that at least. And I love her. I'm gonna love Mabel and Clara and Otto all. I love, but you know, I think Clara's. So anyway, hopefully she loves this. But Mabel is much more like the younger girl. She's about 7 now. Gosh, she's 7. She's much more like into kind of dressing up like a princess, and she loves pink and to wear beautiful clothes to school, and she always keeps her clothes really nice. Like she's, you know, kids are just different. And she's totally sweet. Like she's like the sweetest kid ever. So when I asked Mabel what kind of sweater she wanted, she said she wanted, because I'd made Clara has like, I made her like a little white dress with a yoke, like, but it was, yeah, it's just like a little cap sleeves and it's just a little skirt that I just like a little did like some increases, and it was absolutely adorable. She rocked it. She was wore over her leggings, and she'd wanted a dress. Clara had said she wanted a dress, so I'd made her a dress, and Mabel said she wanted one like that with the colors on the top. And I said, well, what kind of design? You know, I was thinking of the like bean and olive sweater that Andrea Mowry designed that was so cute with like the little zigzags and the hearts, and Hannah just knit one of those for her cousin and it turned out too small, which was sad. But Mabel said, I don't want any hearts, I just want zigzags. And I was like, okay, we can do that, no problem. What color? And she was like, well, I want white, but like a white sweater, but like with pink or purple. And I was like, okay. So I was at their house last week and I brought options. I brought 2 like purples, and then I brought this pink. And I actually had made, I think I made 3 or 4 of these skeins in 2020, summer 2020, before I was nannying. And I made Mabel a pair of little mittens with this yarn because she didn't have any mittens. I made Clara a hat, maybe? I don't know. I made the girls, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I'd made her mittens because she didn't have mittens or something. She'd lost her mittens. I just like spent a morning making these. They were tiny. And they were adorable. And she loved this, and she's like, I want a sweater out of this. So I gotta see if I can find that third half skein so I can do the whole sweater like this, because if not, I'm gonna have to stretch it by making stripes or something. But yeah, it's really sweet. I mean, I guess I could do like a charcoal color and then do this for the color work. I don't know. I'm thinking of making a tiny little throw over too. She wanted the zigzags. She says she doesn't remember wanting zigzags, so like, I don't think she would care what I made her. If I just make like a little raglan striped sweater or something, she'd probably love it. It doesn't matter. But I have some time to percolate my ideas for Mabel's little sweater. Otto's sweater fits him, shockingly. I made it in January and I thought he would have grown out of it by now, but he hasn't. So amazing. Because I didn't see them, so I didn't bring it to him until just now, but he loved it. He didn't take it off. He's so snuggly. I thought like he wouldn't, because he's younger. He was 3, now he's 5. I just thought he wouldn't even like know who I was when I show up at their house, but he knows who I am, and he like gets right into my lap, and it's like, So, next thing, DK socks. Yeah, okay, so I've been back on a DK sock kit because it's getting colder, and it's just like easier to make DK socks. It's a lot faster, and people like the cozy kind of double thick socks, and again, they're fast, so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do this. So some of you may know I did like a 3 video series on DK socks last year. Like around this time I started, and then I had like a couple of other videos like in like November and like January about them. And yeah, so I I kind of like continued to make them a little bit. I made a few pairs, I should have, but I gave them all away. I was gonna say I should have done a video on them on my like last set of Felici, because they were cute. They were really nice. I made yeah, there was like a kind of like moody rainbow pair, and there was a like red or pink and yellow pair. I gave them to people at the choir school. That was like little things that I just made for everyone. Those were my DK pairs I had made. And then I made 3 pairs that were just like plain vanilla, just like 1 strand. I had the pink ones and the blue ones, and then the ones I made for Catherine, the greenish ones. But yeah, it doesn't, yeah, anyway, that's it. So, yeah, I've been making more because I have more Felici. So I'm going to show you my bucket of like stuff I have for DK socks, like where I put it all. But these are the 2 I've made recently. So this one, I think that the colorway is called Solstice. It was from last winter. So it was when Hannah and I got the 10-pack in like January around her birthday. Yeah, that was my birthday present to Hannah. I like got this 10-pack and I was like, okay, Hannah, 5 of them are yours. Pick which 5 you want. Okay, so it has a gray stripe, which it actually started with. So the cuff just looks really long, but then it has, I love it. It's like the yellow and the pink and blues. And I held it with black, obviously. And then the heels, toes, and cuffs are in ash Knit Pick Stroll. And Stroll in black is the thing I held double with. So this one is ribbed completely all the way around. And I actually, even the heel is ribbed. I don't know if I would necessarily do ribbing for the heel next time because it's kind of hard to figure that out. But yeah, I managed to do the gusset with ribbing, like fine. One of the socks is like kind of off. Like I did something stupid and like rearranged the stitches wrong and purled the wrong ones, but like it doesn't matter, like no one will tell. It's just like the whole thing is ribbed just to kind of have a better fit on the foot. I do like the fit of fully ribbed socks. Like Andrea Mowry's DRK everyday socks are all ribbed. I haven't made those, but I'm thinking about it and I'll tell you why in a minute. And yeah, so yeah, they don't go quite as quickly as fully vanilla ones, and my second pair is a fully vanilla pair. So I'll show you in a second. But I do like the fit, and I think they look, you know, they look cool. They hug your foot nicely. But yeah, so Solstice. This is Knit Picks Felici again. Like I just make, well, the other one's on the blue blocker, so it's kind of like saggy, but they're matching, so I can do it matching. I mean, I know for myself, like how big is a woman's 7.5-ish foot? Probably fits like between a woman's 6.5 and an 8, maybe 8.5, because you know, the stuff stretches. But I know exactly how many stripes I need to do for the foot, so I just do until I get to that. You know, I know that I'm gonna use 15 stripes. No, it's not 15, it's 12 stripes in each sock. You can do up to 15 stripes per sock if you make 2 socks and you have 1 ball and you have contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs and stuff. But if you want them to be matching, there's usually 6 stripes, or there's 5 stripes and one of them's thicker. I think maybe sometimes they have like 4 stripe ones too, but I've never used any of those. But so yeah, I wind them into balls first, and I'll show you what that looks like. So this is just my, like, we have those cubes from, well, ours are from, I have IKEA ones downstairs, but we get them at Target. The like 2x4 cubes. We have one right there for our pantry items, like just canned tomatoes and beans and coconut milk and flour and stuff. And then we have 2 in the living room for like yarn stuff and other things. Okay, these are just my DK sock needles, 2.5, which is a 3mm needle. Yeah, I use a 3mm needle or US 2.5. Most people use like a 3 or 4, but I just magic loop it. I use white. I think this is Felici, because I couldn't get, sorry, that's where the camera is. I couldn't get white Stroll, which is cheaper, but Felici's softer, so it doesn't matter. And then you get, you know, Felici comes in balls like this. So I still have 2 in here. This is Mango Lassie, or just Lassie. And then this one is called Gone Fishin'. Gone Fishin'. I like it, it's nice. They're both gonna go probably with white and be DK weight socks. But I have 2 more balls because I haven't used any of the new colors yet, and you can't actually see the whole thing because I wined them. So these are the 2 50-gram, or not 50 grams, but these are the 2 12 stripe balls that I wined. So this one has a bunch of blues inside it. This one's called Painted Hills, but it looks orange. And I have some orange that I'll probably use for the heels and toes. And then this one's called Secret Garden. So there's pink inside. It's mostly greens, but there's pink inside. I haven't decided if I should do a pink heels, toes, and cuffs, so you can see the raspberry there at the end of this. Or if I should just do like a teal and just have like the pink as a pop. So this is how much I use for each sock of the self-striping. And then yeah, everything left over just goes in here. So I have a bunch of like small balls that I just kind of keep in here as like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but someday I'm gonna use them for something. So there's the blue inside the Painted Hills. This one's from this sock I did, that I made for one of the ladies at choir school. It was the yellow and pinks and orange. And then this is what I'm about to show you. This is West Yorkshire Spinners in Mallard, and I miscounted the stripes because I thought I was gonna run out and I didn't. So let's look at this one. This one's for my dad for Christmas. I think he will enjoy it. It's just stuff everywhere. So this is West Yorkshire Spinners in Mallard, held with white. So Mallard has 4 stripes, the 2 browns, and then the green and blue. The brown here is just like a plain brown. This is a yak merino nylon yarn that I dyed. I dyed 2 skeins of it, like 2 50-gram skeins, and I've only ever used this for heels, toes, and cuffs. And I'm like, okay, well, that's what it's for. Helpful, you know. We could use it for this too. Probably will use it for this because it's got brown, yeah. I'm just gonna keep using both of those 50-gram skeins until they run out. Sometimes you just need heels and toes. So, it smells good because I use jasmine wool wash. Yeah, these are just plain vanilla with a heel flap and gusset. There's a second one, but it's not a blocker. And it's wet, just a little wet. I finished them yesterday. So yeah, these are just, again, like, I had basically half a ball of West Yorkshire Spinners left. And I was like, yep, that's what I'm gonna make. Sometimes I divide these ones in half by weight. So I might do that for the next one because I have another partial skein. It's probably almost half, might be more than half, of Blue Lagoon. Again, made socks with this, but don't have them because I gave them to somebody at choir school. I made the Twizzler socks with these and I loved them. It's like this little cute little slip stitch pattern on them that like, oh, there's the rain. It's hurricane-y this weekend, so. Anyway, it has a nice slip stitch pattern of Twizzler socks and they're free patterns, so I will link them below. So just in terms of patterns, because I feel like I should link patterns, I'm gonna link the thicksgiving socks because that's the first pattern I used to make DK socks, and I liked basically I used them to make, the first ones I made were all ribbed, like not all the way around because the bottom of the foot wasn't ribbed, but like the around the leg and then like top of the foot ribbed. She's got a pattern for that, and then she has fully vanilla. And then she has like a pair with little cables that are really cute. She also has Thickmas socks, which are Christmas socks, obviously. I love the name Thicksgiving and Thickmas. I just think that's super funny. But anyway, these have 48 stitches around, which if you're doing a vanilla sock, like for a lady, for me, if I were making these for myself, I would go down to 44 stitches. But for my dad, I went to 48. If you're doing a ribbed, I would start with 48 because they're going to be tighter. So I would make 48 for myself and like 52 for my dad or something. But these are vanilla, so. These are fast. They're kind of like slippers. I'm going to make them for everyone I work with. I think, I don't know. I have a lot of Jane Austen socks to give away too because I've already photographed them. We'll see. But I'm excited about this. So the next ones, I always talk about the next ones I'm gonna make. So I showed you those. I think I'm gonna make these held with white. And then for heels and toes, I'm gonna use like a super, super dark blue stroll, like midnight blue or something. This has 4 stripes, See, the thing about the West Yorkshire spinners that I like is that it has like 4 stripes, and then in between there's like the little, this would be more prominent, more obvious if they weren't held double, but there's the like little one spots in between, and it's gray and white, like dotted almost. One of the Christmas colorways, the Christmas colorway Robin, that also has that. A lot of colorways have the little, like each color stripe is separated by like a, my coworker Julie would call that a dit, because we have these little dotted lines between our like newsletters and MailChimp at work, and Julie just calls them dit. And that's like, she's like, that needs a dit there. So that's what I think of every time I knit with the West Yorkshire Spinners yarn, which is funny. Anyway, yeah, these are gonna be next. I'm trying to get them done and get them to my mom for Christmas, and then I'm gonna do the other Felicis that I balled up. I have a bunch of stuff in here. Okay, this is the other thing I have that I'm gonna show you. This is also a skein from Knit Picks, and it was just like on sale, and it's just called Static, and it's called, the colorway is called Cameo. So I don't, because I haven't skeined or balled this up, I don't even know if it's going to be like self-striping or just kind of like random. My guess is that it's somewhat self-patterning or striping, but I grabbed this pink, just a hand-dyed pink from some years ago that I did. It's a sock yarn, to go with it for heels and toes, and I will see what happens with that, I guess, at some point. I like it, and I'll hold it with white. I think it's cute. So that's on the docket. This looks a lot like this. This is more pink. This has a little bit more mauve in it. Anyway, okay. So there's my DK socks. DK sock talk. Okay, one other thing to talk about. Okay, right now I'm gonna send you over to my dye kitchen, and you can watch my little, I don't think it's very long, 5 to 10 minute video about yarn dyeing. I had some yarn on the stove, so you'll get to see it. Talk about my griddle and stuff. You'll see all the plants in the background. Jordan repotted some plants last night, put some new clippings in jars. Looks really good. I'm really glad that Jordan knows how to take care of plants, because I don't, and I really like having plants in the house that I don't have to kill, because that's just kind of sad. So, you know, we all have things. But anyway, okay, enjoy that. Welcome to my dye kitchen. So this is some yarn on the stove, and I obviously have a real stove, and I have pots for the real stove, but I prefer to do it in the pans on the electric griddle. It's just like, you can kind of control the temperature here. This is just a regular like pancake griddle. My parents have one of these, but this one is, I don't cook food on it ever, just in case dye ever splashes out. So right now I'm dyeing some singles, 3 merino singles in there. These are from my friend Ivy. She's gonna make a Paloma with them from Espas Tricot. I'm super excited for her. And here's all the stuff that I use. So obviously rubber gloves, very important. This is just like a bucket from Target. There's a mask, pail, it's from Target. That's, yeah, you gotta have N95 masks around. There's a little spot of dye I'm gonna have to clean up. No problems. I also use, this is my yarn only spoon. This is just a empty yogurt bucket that I use. This I use for like, I fill it with water and then I rinse off this is just my dye spoon that I like grab the dye with, put it into usually water, but sometimes just directly into the pot. Usually I dilute the dye first, I dissolve it, and then I pour it into a pan, unless you're speckling or something. That's kind of generally what people do. And then I have to wash it, like I put it in the water so that it doesn't contaminate other dye, and so that the dye turns from powder to liquid form immediately, because once the particles are wet, it's no longer poisonous if you breathe it in, like poisonous. And by that I mean bad for your lungs. It's not the particulate stuff. So you want it in liquid form as soon as possible. And then I dry it off with paper towel. Then I do repeat if I'm mixing colors for anything. Then this has got a bunch of dye in it, this bucket after that. So then I pour that into here, or you have to pour it somewhere because you have to exhaust dye. unless there's just a tiny bit of it. I mean, even that's, I just like got it to a couple drops in there and it's already pretty pink. That's probably okay, but you really don't want to be pouring dye down your sink. This actually gets covered, so I'm gonna do this now so it heats faster. It's pretty hot. You can tell already it immediately starts to steam up. I'm essentially just making a steamer here. I do have an actual steamer that I sometimes use for like hand painted yarn. For that, I do usually use the stove. This is my bucket of dye supplies. So obviously I have a ton of acid dyes. Acid dye does not refer to the content of the dye, it refers to the thing that sticks the dye to the yarn. So in this case, it's a mordant. Well, that's what it is. In this case, the mordant is an acid. So there's various, this is my steamer in case I want to do hand painted yarn. There's some random empty jars and like measuring equipment. You can see there's like, this is, you know, useful if you're like trying to, if you use dye stock and you're just trying to like get a really accurate like measurement of how much dye is in there. We'll have droppers for that. I use these a lot. One summer that I dyed a ton of yarn, I use these all the time because I was trying to like recreate stuff. I was trying to write everything down. This is for spiraling. Just a little tiny sieve. And then funnels for the little these guys. That's pretty much it though. Some like actual yarn here. This is the yarn. These are merino singles. And I've got some mohair underneath. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. Sometimes I use old jars. Sun-dried tomato jar that has some dye in it from yesterday. I can't show you the fiber because it's downstairs, but Jordan and I were dyeing fiber yesterday. So that was exciting. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it for now. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the grand tour with me. Okay, back to me. So yeah, so I've been dyeing some yarn just for like me, my friends, Hannah, etc. It's really just three of us, me, Hannah, and Ivy, who I'm dyeing the raspberry yarn for, which is out on the porch right now. Just cooling off and making the house smell less like vinegar because I don't have any citric acid right now. And the way that our house is, it's like, I mean, it's like a row house, so it has this like a long hallway there, over there, and then up, and then kind of big open stairwell that goes up to the second and third floors, and especially like in the stairs and at the top of the stairs where the landing, if you go this way it's Jordan's room, and this way it's my room, and Hannah's way up. And so on that landing, which is really close to Jordan's room, it really smells like whatever you're cooking or whatever you cooked yesterday. Like the smell will linger. So like for 3 days it smelled like curry, which was amazing. We really like it. But if you cook something then you burn it, it kind of stinks. So that's kind of a pity. But I walked up there this morning before I recorded to like go get my laundry or something, and it stank of vinegar. And a vinegar, just hot vinegar and wool, is just like such a bad smell. It's so nasty. And that's what it smelled like. And I sent Jordan a text. I was like, I'm so sorry, it stinks. I'll get citric acid next time. I'm gonna get it this weekend if I dye any more yarn, because you just mix it with water and it just doesn't stink. I mean, hot wool kind of smells weird, but not like vinegar with wool and hot water. That's worse. And Jordan's like, oh, I don't care. I used to drink vinegar, so it doesn't matter. If you don't drink apple cider vinegar or something. She doesn't mind. She's not fussy. And yeah, so I probably would have dyed that yarn anyway, but here's the thing. This is my big new thing that I haven't done yet, but we're gonna see how it goes. So my friend Monica, who lives down the street, who I've been friends with forever, and she's a fiber friend forever, 6 years, 5-6 years. We've been friends since grad school. I've described Monica before, but she's never been on the podcast or channel, whatever this is. So hopefully that will happen soon. She's very busy because she's an organist, but she does knit. And I was at her apartment last 2 weeks ago, 2 weekends ago, maybe last weekend, 2 weekends ago was when we went to Ren Fair. And she has a spinning wheel that her dad built her when she was in high school, I think. Her dad is an amazing woodworker, and he built her this spinning wheel. And she said she used to spin yarn in like high school before she was a knitter. She would just spin, like it was something that she liked to do and it was meditative. And she said, do you want to borrow it? And I was like, nah, I don't want to spin. Like, I have friends who spin. I think it's really cool. I think the e-spinners are great. You can get an inexpensive e-spinner. The electric eel is really inexpensive. It's like $300. One of my friends has that, and that's like really cool. Like, I've watched people spin many times, and I think the more time I spend around it, the more I'm like intrigued and I ask more questions. I always have so many questions for my spinning friends. I'm like, do you do this? Do you do that? Like, what is this like? What kind of fiber would you like do? Whatever, like that kind of thing. Like, what does that fiber feel like or spin up like or anything like that? So this is what happens for me. Like, I should have like known that like my interest in this had been percolating, and I was gonna just like have a moment this week where I was like, yes. And it was like last weekend, and I was driving to DC, and I decided, I was like, I want to spin. And I was at a red light. Like, I got into the city, and I was like, and I you know, I used to drive in DC all the time, and I knew it was like a long red light. So I get my phone and I text Monica, and I'm like, okay, I want to borrow the spinning wheel. And she's like, okay, cool, sounds good. Next time we see each other, I'll give it to you. And so we're doing that today. I'm gonna go there for, it's raining, it's Hurricane Ian. Ian's my brother's name, which is fun. And so we can't really do anything. She needs to like just chill on Saturdays. It's like her only day off right now. And she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna meal prep and stuff, and like, you know, just hang out with Ryan, her husband, and you know, he just kind of hangs out, plays video games, and just like chats with us and stuff. Also works hard all week and needs to like take a break. So she was like, I have everything, you just need roving. And so I was like, I ordered some this week. It didn't come in time because, again, it takes a while for me to get packages. So I tried to order a braid from Lovely Yarns, but then they were out of stock. And then, so I went to the other store, Clover Hill Yarns, or whatever it's called, Clover Hill. And they had roving. They had this ball of roving that was like a pound, more than a pound. This big ball of BFL, beautiful BFL roving. And I bought the whole thing. It was like $60. I was like, that's fine. It's cheap per ounce, no problem. So, I dyed it. I dyed some of it. It was mixed BFL, so you can see that there's like variegation in here. Some of it might be slightly felted. But, you know, I think it's not unspinnable. Look at that, that pulled off. It's draftable. So it's still kind of wet here. Maybe other spinners will know that because I'm pulling it apart while it's wet, that's why it feels undraftable. Yeah, this is like, yeah, it's not, you know, definitely I can draft this. I mean, there's a bunch of just like undyed that because this, you know, I bought 16, 17 ounces of it. Like it's, but yeah, I just like did this one in the big pot with antique mauve, and this is ballerina pink, and this is like a lilac. There's a bigger one of this too. I tried to dye like 2 ounces of each. Oh, it smells really good because I dyed it with vinegar, but then I washed it, and then my jasmine will wash. So it smells really good. Here's my bigger green one. And I did a blue one. Jordan did it actually. I prepared the colors for her, but I gave her full creative control with them. I was like, here's some like, you know, I just mixed a few different blues with water, and I was like, creative control, go for it. And she did. So we have a beautiful blue one downstairs that's still very wet, but it's drying. And I'm gonna make me some barber pole yarns. I'm gonna do that. And I'm gonna let you know how it goes, obviously. But yeah, I think this is, you can draft this, sure. Look at that, yeah, it's not felted. There are probably bits of it that are a little felted, but this one was lichen and moss green. And yeah, you can just see like the bits of like a lot of the BFL was just like brown because it was mixed. So created some natural variegation, which is cool. I'm just so excited. So we're gonna do that today. And I'm gonna bring the wheel back with me to my house to work on it. And if I like it, I'm gonna get an electric spinner because it's cheaper and wheels are big and stuff. And something that you know, I wouldn't want to, I don't want spinning to take over my life, even if I really like it, but it's something that I would want to work on, like, you know, every day. And I'm actually considering like getting a little electric one and just bringing it to my office and like going in kind of like early, like 8 o'clock, and just kind of spending a half an hour with my spinner every day, just to kind of like have like a little meditative time in the morning and just like sit and be quiet. Because, you know, otherwise there's just more stuff taking up space in our house. But yeah, Monica was like, yeah, I have everything, Bobbins, Lazy Kate, all this stuff. I was like, wow, she's like, all you need is roving. And I was like, okay, I can get that. And so I've got that, and it's dyed and it's beautiful. And I'm really excited. So, you know, I wanted to kind of get this going before I went to Rhinebeck. So I'm going to Rhinebeck. In case you are also going to Rhinebeck, please say hi if you see me. I will be with Maggie and Kareen on Friday at Wool & Folk from the Woolly Thistle, in case you don't know them. And then on Saturday, I will also be with them at the podcaster meetup at 1 on the hill. And I will be at, yeah, those are the big things I'll definitely be at. So, but like, you know, I have so much yarn. I'm like, I don't really need yarn. I would love more yarn. Everybody always wants more yarn, but I'm like, I don't need more yarn. I want to get fiber. So I want to like start spinning now, like a couple weeks in advance, so that I know that it's something that, because if I hate it, then I don't want to buy fiber. I'm like, yeah, I don't want to be presumptuous, but like I would like to go get not raw fiber, but like processed fleece, and maybe dye some of it and spin like myself a sweater. I don't want to, like, you know, because spinning takes a long time. You know, I understand that like you're not gonna have tons and tons of, you know, hand spun that just gets made instantly. Like it takes a lot of practice and time, but I think that it's something that I would be interested in doing. And I want to, yeah, I really want to like make, like Andrea Maurer has like a nurtured sweater that she made out of her hand spun. And I'm like, yeah, that would be like a nice, you know, it's like a textured sweater. It's forgiving, that kind of thing. Sorry, I'm just pulling this apart because it's fun. And I want to make sure, check it's not felted. So yeah, I think I'm going to try and do that. And then I just want to like make my own, you know, Spin Cycle's expensive. Yarn Hero, Spin Cycle, all those like beautiful, you know, and Feederbrook Farm, Junction Fiber Mill. Yeah, those are the ones I can think of, like the beautiful barber pole yarns that are, you know, beautiful and expensive and they'll look like hand spun. I want to make my own colors up for those. Like I love the colors that they have. Like Spin Cycle is really expensive. Like I can't just afford to buy it all the time. And I can make my own versions of it if I spin. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna do that because I want to. And I'm like really excited about this. It's like, yeah, to take some more control, basically. And I am one of those people who, like, you know, I always call it the growth mindset, you know, at work and stuff. But I'm one of those people who just, I want to keep pushing. Like if I get, for things that, you know, everybody has things that they don't want to push on. And this is one of the things that I tell my students a lot. Like, so I used to be a math major, which was just true. It was dumb of me to think that I should be a math major because I wasn't really interested in math. I was just kind of good at math. And there's a big difference between being good at something and being interested in something, because you can be naturally good at something to a point where eventually you're gonna have to keep wanting to move on or move forward, or you're gonna hit a wall and you're gonna not want to push and you're gonna be like, this is too hard, and you're gonna want to give up. And that is called having a fixed mindset. And having a growth mindset is when you meet a challenge and you're like, I need to face this challenge, and like I'm gonna keep going. And so there's a lot of, you know, things about fixed and growth mindsets, but we all have both of them. We just have them for different things. So for, you know, something like math, I had a very fixed mindset, whereas when I switched my major to music history, I had an unbelievable drive to like learn more stuff, and I wanted to learn and I wanted to work hard, and like even the hard stuff like counterpoint and music theory and like harmony and form, I didn't become amazing at counterpoint exercises, but I did them and I learned the rules and I edited them. And again, like I wasn't great at it, but I kept doing it because I knew it was important for me to understand so that I could be a better historian. And so it's one of those things where everybody has things that they don't want to focus on or they don't want to continue to push at. But like, you know, ideally people have jobs that give them that kind of growth potential and that they want to meet that. So like for me at my job, literally lecturing students about this, you know, I want to grow programming so that I can reach more and more and more students and help more and more and more students. Like that's the whole point. Like I start where I am, I meet a lot of students one-on-one, and we're growing like a workshop program and like, you know, series of place things that we do where we can get more students and more students to know about it, more students to like understand, you know, how am I supposed to be studying? You know, if I, you know, how do I get through organic chemistry live, that kind of thing. Like, you know, the answer is practice harder and go to tutoring and practice every day. If you're wondering, if you're trying to pass organic chemistry. But like, you know, a lot of things are like, it's easier with other people. Like it's easier to run 1 more mile if you're on a track team than it is to run 1 more mile by yourself when you're tired. It's just easier to do a lot of things, like, you know, getting gritty about something. And this all goes kind of hand in hand with Grit, which is one of my favorite books, Grit by Angela Duckworth. So yeah, I just thought like, you know, I pushed myself in many ways as a knitter. I'd continue to do that, and I still, you know, make things like this, which is really simple, beautiful yarn, really satisfying to knit, but like simple. It's so like dark. It looks so much darker because the light's not, we don't have natural light today. But this is, you know, plain. It's fun to knit because the yarn's fun, but like, it's just plain. Like I'm not pushing myself on this. I'm doing this because, I mean, sometimes I like this vanilla sweater, beautiful yarn. Just wanted to have something simple in this beautiful yarn and wanted to wear a plain sweater. I'm gonna sneeze, hang on. All right, did my sneeze. Anyway, right, I want to wear this, so I have the capability of knitting and I'm gonna do that if I want to. And it's nice to have vanilla projects on your needles because you're gonna be sitting around a lot of the time and you can't like focus on a difficult knitting project. But I wanted to keep pushing, like, you know, I know how to do a lot of stuff in knitting. I still haven't done brioche, but maybe hand spinning will kind of get me into the brioche territory because hand spun or, you know, beautiful barber pulling yarns and brioche go very well together. So something like that, you know? And again, yeah, I just kind of wanted to, you know, I'm interested in like basically continuing on the path to like, where do you get this thing and how does it become a sweater, you know? And spinning is just kind of one more step because, you know, when you have a genuine interest in something, you should follow that. And I'm lucky that I have a friend who's like, would you like to borrow this beautiful homemade spinning wheel that my dad built me in high school? And, you know, I have other friends who want to spin and answer my questions and help me along this kind of journey. Like, you know, I didn't have to pay for a class, and maybe I will. I don't know how good I'm going to be at it, but yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I want to keep going. I want to keep going with this. I know it's going to be kind of difficult at first, but like, you know, you kind of push through stuff like that and then you have this new thing that you can do. And then, yeah, just, you know, someday I would like to watch someone shear a sheep. And I would like to learn how drum carding works and all sorts of things. It's just interesting to me. So yeah, I'm going to keep pushing forward. And I hope that, you know, people watching who are also knitters, you know, have growth mindsets about knitting or inspired to kind of push forward in their knitting too. One thing I am going to do with my hand spun when it's at the point where I can do this is I'm going to knit the Spark Sweater by Andrea Mowry, which, okay, so this was funny. Last week I showed you my De Rerum Natura Ulysse yarn. I was making the Grey Ghost by Thea Coleman. And then I remembered that I had changed my mind and I was like, I'm going to make the Sparky pullover with that instead because I don't think I have enough for the Grey Ghost. So I hardly did any, I mean only like a couple inches, but I'm going to take the whole thing out and make Sparky with that yarn and hand spun when I have enough. in the barber pulling colors that I want. So I think I'm gonna do like mostly kind of like light greens. Like maybe I'll use some of this and like maybe like a lighter green and some blues, like lighter blues. Yeah, but I'm gonna make that with my hand spun when I get to the point where I'm gonna do that. And I don't anticipate that it's gonna be immediately that I have enough yarn or good enough yarn to do that right away, right? You know what I mean? It's like that's several months away. That's okay. It's nice to have a goal. It's always nice to have goals. I always, again, that's something I tell my students, like you need a goal. There's the rain. Last night it wasn't raining very hard and Jordan was like, why isn't it raining? If we can't go outside, it should at least be raining. It's like, yeah, it should be. So now it is. Oh yeah. Now it's raining. So I'm also gonna switch over my winter clothes today because it's cold. And I'm gonna do that now. If I washed my sheets this morning, I just decided to just do a bunch of domestic chores this morning, do the laundry, put my sheets on the bed, and then I'm gonna go down and get my winter clothes, which is very exciting because I hate summer. I don't hate, the beach and like doing fun stuff outside, but it's just so hot here. I'm so excited that fall is here. So yeah, that's that. This has been long enough, so hopefully next week I'll show you some hand spun, which is crazy. But I'm excited. And yeah, Rhinebeck soon. I can't wait. So yeah, thanks for watching, I guess. You can like and subscribe if you want to be notified about new episodes or whatever. Just ring the bell. Yeah, smash that subscribe button. I'm getting sort of close to 2K, which is really exciting. So yeah, I'm gonna go finish my drinkable kale and do my chores. Thank you for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.